India is currently navigating a very volatile global trade landscape with a strategic focus on two key fronts. On one hand, it's working to ease tariff tensions with the US, and on the other hand, India is forming new alliances to strengthen its position in the global economy. First, sources reveal that India will not be included in the same tariff list as countries like Mexico, Canada and China. While these countries are facing up to 25% tariffs, India has managed to avoid such escalations. The main issue with the US, according to officials, lies primarily in tariff-related disputes, and negotiations are now underway to resolve these amicably. As part of these talks, India is planning to make significant tariff cuts, reducing duties on over $23 billion worth of US imports, which could be crucial in avoiding retaliatory tariffs on its exports worth $66 billion. The deadline for this agreement is fast approaching, with reciprocal tariffs set to take effect on the 2nd of April. And then on another front, India is also actively working to reset its diplomatic and trade relations with key global partners. Among these, Canada is a focal point. Sources indicate that improving trade ties with Canada is on the agenda for both countries. Following a period of diplomatic tensions, with trade between India and Canada valued at $8.4 billion, Canada plays an important role as a supplier of potash, timber and paper to India, while India exports pharmaceuticals, gems and textiles to Canada. Canada's pension funds have also made significant investments in key Indian sectors as both nations look to diversify their trade relationships and counter US tariff threats. Discussions are underway to rebuild their economic ties and strengthen mutual cooperation. For Canada, which faces a broader political fallout with Trump, the stakes are even higher. Finally, in Europe, India is fast-tracking negotiations to finalize a free trade agreement with the European Union by 2025. Bilateral trade between India and the EU reached $190 billion in financial year 2024, with India exporting $106 billion worth of goods and services. However, significant hurdles remain, particularly in the areas of agricultural tariffs, wines, automobiles and mobility for skilled professionals. Despite these challenges, the EU remains a critical partner for India, and with the current global geopolitical shifts, both sides are keen to finalize a deal. India's efforts to strengthen ties with the EU are part of a broader strategy to bolster its position in the global trade landscape, especially as it navigates the shifting dynamics caused by tariff threats from the US. And for more on this, our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, is joining me live from New Delhi. Siddhant, this was always going to be a tough one for India to negotiate, but it seems India is already tipping the line very, very finely. Give us more.
Well, Shivan, the clock is ticking. In few days from now, the reciprocal tariffs come into effect. So far, though there are murmurs of a breather being given by Donald Trump, but matter looks complicated with Donald Trump announcing tariffs on import of foreign autos or vehicles to United States, and of course the tariffs on import of Venezuelan oil. This has, of course, rattled markets, and we have seen globally reactions have been coming in. But talking about India, we know that the Assistant USTR, Brendan Lynch, is here in Delhi. Today is his third day and he's holding talks with his counterpart. But will there be any kind of big negotiation in terms of India reducing its tariffs? There are reports emerging that India might reduce its tariff, but one area that will be a key one is the agriculture sector. That is a very sacrosanct sector for India. It's a very politically sensitive sector for India. A lot of livelihoods are dependent, especially in the rural sector. So essentially, will India give anything on that is also the big question. And globally also, what the other countries are planning to do as well. Because while from India, there has been not much of public comment. In fact, the only reaction that has come is by the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who yesterday described the talks as very intensive, even as both sides are working towards a bilateral trade agreement by fall of this year, by September of this year. So multiple things are happening, especially on the trade front. But in few days' time, we'll get to know essentially what transpired, and will India give any kind of waiver for United States, and what does India get from the United States if it opens its markets without tariffs to US products?
All right, Siddhant, thanks for getting us the latest. That was our Assistant Director of Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, standing in front of the brilliant India Gate. We have a view of that behind him. That was him reporting from New Delhi. We'll be tracking this closely for you.